go.
Thank you. And you have the roll, I'm assuming. Okay.
Yep.
First item on the agenda, comments from citizens present. Anyone want to address the committee? Please raise your hand and state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes per speaker. I'm not seeing anybody.
Nope, me neither.
Okay. We'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and move on to approval of minutes. Approval of minutes from the January 11th, 2022 meeting.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Motion minutes are approved. Okay, Abby is on the line and we wanted to move miscellaneous up because she does have another meeting coming up and she wanted to make sure we had enough time to discuss the item in the miscellaneous discussion of event concept and proposed street closure for the 2022 Art Walk in Middleton. Abby?
Thank you. I guess I'll just give a brief overview of the event that the Middleton Arts Committee is planning to host on May 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's a Saturday. This is a follow-up event to a couple of other previous events that they held. They had a pop-up in downtown in late 2018. And then they had a full art walk event in 2019 that was really well attended. We had over 1,700 people there. It was a lot of fun. We had about 25 artists that were showing and selling their work that day. And we paired them with downtown businesses to also get people into some of the shops in the downtown that they hadn't had an opportunity to check out before. For this year's event, we have decided to go with a fully outdoor event. The reason for the change is twofold. One, we don't know where the pandemic situation is going to be in May, and hopefully it looks like things are hopefully going to be letting up by then, and we'll be able to be indoors, but just in case, we thought it was better to just plan for an outdoor event. The second reason is that the Stonehorse Green in downtown will be under construction, and so that whole site will be fenced off, and we decided that that kind of left a bit of a gap in the downtown if we were trying to get people to walk around to the different businesses. So what we are proposing to do is to close what we called the festival zone when we redid the Terrace Avenue streetscape. And that is the area that is in front of Capitol Brewery from High Point Road. And our proposal is to close it all the way to Parmenter Street, which we recognize would affect several residences. Primarily, the Middleton Station Apartments has 39 units just in that one building, and their underground parking is accessed directly only from Terrace Avenue. We have spoken with the part owner in that building, Chris Laurent. He is a former Arts Committee member and he's a big supporter of the projects that the Public Arts Committee is doing. So he was supportive. We haven't spoken with the other folks who live along Terrace Avenue or the people who live on Aurora, which is that small port that comes off of Terrace.
Great.
So,
Well,
so we recognize that's going to require some hand-holding with the residents to make sure that they're fully aware that if they park there on Terrace, they will not get their
Excuse me, Abby.
that day.
Please mute yourself if you're not speaking right now. If you're not Abby. Thank you.
So for the 2022 event, we're planning to have 50 artists accepted into the event. It's fine art only. So this is not intended to compete with the craft fairs or other events happening around town. It's totally different. It's much more similar to the art fair on the square in Madison, except that we're focused on local artists showing and selling their work. And that is part of the primary goal of the event, is to promote local artists. We will be accepting 50 artists. We're accepting them on a rolling basis. And so far there have been 10 artists accepted. The event will also include demonstrations and some food trucks, which on the site layout that I included in your packet, it was showing the food trucks in the parking lot next to the skate park and the demonstration art under the Terrace Avenue Pavilion. And those two things are flipped because we know that if we let the food trucks use the Terrace Avenue Pavilion, that they don't have to get the special food truck license. That area is exempted from that. And then we're planning to fall under the Capitol Brewery amplified sound permit. So they have a permit that begins at 11 a.m. on Saturday. And we're planning to host 2 bands in the beer garden on the stage, one from 11 to 1 and the second one from 2 to 4. And then I guess probably the area that we need the most feedback from License and Ordinance Committee is how we're intending to handle beer. We met with Capitol Brewery and they kind of went over the process that they have used for an expanded premise. And we know that if we want guests to the event to be able to take a beer outside of the beer garden area, that area has to be fenced. We don't know at this time whether our budget is going to cover bringing somebody in to fence that whole area, but that is our goal because we would also like to have picnic tables available in the Capitol Brewery parking lot area so that people can get food from the food trucks and there's much more seating. But we're reaching out to a couple of folks right now to get pricing for construction fencing because Capitol Brewery does not have nearly enough to fence that whole area. That's a very long stretch of street. We did also talk to them about using their trained crew that would handle wristbands if we are to go that route, where we would allow beer to come outside of the beer garden area. They would strongly recommend that we would have wristband checks at the door entering the event. I mean, this is really intended to be a very family-friendly event. It's not, a crazy wild party. This is an event where people are going to bring their kids and they're, it's multi-generational. That's how it's always been in the past, but we were kind of trying to create a similar vibe to what they have at Art Fair on the Square, which is you can go to a vendor there, you can grab a beer and you can, walk around as you're shopping and perusing the different artist tents. So that was kind of the intent, but we would like to get your feedback on that.
I have a question. Jeremy, do you know how it's different for Middleton versus like the Art Fair on the Square, how they handle that differently than what Middleton does?
I don't know the answer to that. I haven't been up to the Art Fair on the Square for quite some time. But I don't think they fence in anything. It's similar to what's the other big event on Labor Day weekend? The food one.
Taste of Matter.
Taste of Matter, that's it, man. I couldn't think of that one. Where I think in that one they have like kind of fenced in areas on the corners, but it's not like an entirely fenced in area there.
Yeah. How do we find out what the art walk would need to do to make this happen? Are you pretty sure they all have to be fenced in then? Is that where?
Well, maybe Matt can chime in on this. It looks like he wanted to talk, so I'm going to leave it up to him.
Well, I mean, the fencing aspect of it is entirely a creature of our making. It's our policies, and so I mean, we can revisit that anytime we want. Although, I would imagine that we'd want to consider the degree to which we'd continue that policy or not continue that policy for everybody. I don't know if there's anything unique about a city event per se that suggests one way or the other is better. What I don't really know, and it seems to me we have looked into this in the past, and I don't know if we've ever gotten any definitive answers, really understanding the licensing scheme that they use to kind of basically license the whole street area.
That's Good Neighbor Fest, wasn't it, that we were looking into changing how the fencing and licensing went, I think?
I think we started to, yeah. And I think I remember seeing, I think the licenses, if I recall, we found out were issued to, I think it was downtown Madison. I don't remember specifically, but and it's always been a little bit of a mystery as to, that's something I can look into. I think I know who in the city attorney's office deals with the legal issues surrounding
Okay,
alcohol licenses. But yeah, I mean, I suppose I could come up with some ideas, but it's not immediately apparent to me the legal
okay,
basis for doing that.
okay.
Kathy, I'm also friends with Steve Fleshman, who was the head of Momoka, and he just recently retired, but he was the person who had to organize the art fair on the square for many, many years. I'm happy to ask him how they did it.
That'd be great. I mean, anything we can figure out that makes this go smoother.
Okay.
Abby, how important is the beer aspect to the event? If something wasn't the event would still go on regardless, correct?
Yeah, we would still hold the event. We talked about that today with Capital Brewery, and I think it would be okay. You know, if we aren't able to do it, we would hold the event. We're already having the music in the beer garden. And so we expect that folks will go over to the beer garden to hear the music and possibly take a break anyway. So if they wanted, you know, if worse came to worse and we weren't able to make the beer, you know, available to peruse the art walk, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. It's just a desire.
Yeah.
I will say that I think that this issue, we should probably resolve this issue though, because it's going to come up with the Stonehurst screen, as you know,
Yeah.
when we're looking at closing that segment of Hubbard for a larger event.
Right.
I'm sure that it's going to come up time and time again.
Okay. I do have a couple questions for you. You have this, it begins with the setup at 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is cleanup. How long will the street be closed?
We were hoping that for the first hour, we would only be letting people in that are dropping off tents and supplies and things like that. So we would basically be closing the street for that entire time, beginning at 7 a.m. But we would enable, you know, people who are associated with the event to get through. And we noticed in the permit application that it looked like there was a need for an 18-foot clearance area for safety vehicles. And so we talked about with Laura a little bit about how we could accommodate that. Obviously, like our goal would be to have the tents on either side of the street, but we have at least 18 feet of distance between the tents on either side. But if there are, I mean, this is going to be crowded with people, so we would just have to assume that in an emergency, we would have somebody, a volunteer or something, helping to clear people out of the way so that an emergency vehicle could get through.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what how many people are living in phase 3 apartments, or is that open for occupancy yet?
It's open, and it's on my walk to work every morning, and I see people out there on the balconies. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's pretty full. I mean, it's definitely filling up.
That's their only exit is onto Terrace also.
That is correct. Yeah, we chatted with, yeah.
How have you considered moving the event back to Aurora?
Yes, yeah, we talked about that today. With our meeting with Capital Brewery. If LNO doesn't support the full closure, one option could be to close the street just west of the Aurora intersection, which would at least allow everyone who lives on that segment of Aurora to get in and out, and it would allow Middleton Center phase 3 in and out. There would still be a few homes that are affected, and Middleton Station apartments would also still be affected.
Correct. Seeing that no one has reached out to these residents yet, and I would much prefer to have it moved back to Aurora. Personally, if you can make these the tents and make that all work out to accommodate 50 artists, would be my preference.
Yeah, it's 1,150, I think, Meg. I measured it earlier. Meg McCombs is here from the Arts Committee, and I think it was 1,150 feet in length. still, even if we were to close it just west of Aurora.
And if that would work, I would much prefer that, because until they're notified, I don't know how. And it's just setting up something that, you know, that'll be included in the festival zone. I don't know if it could become a problem. I would prefer that myself.
Okay.
This is more just this is listed as a discussion of the event. So
Yeah.
Dan or Katie, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I agree with you. I'm a little concerned with the number of people that we are displacing, if you will, not being able to. It just seems for a long period of time, a lot of people. I can see that as being problematic.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to clarify too, Kathy, you did say until 4. It would be longer than that because the
Right,
event
that's
goes
when
until 4.
Begins the
Yeah,
cleanup.
and so it'd probably be more like 5
Yeah.
before, maybe 6. I'm not sure.
So there,
Yeah.
there is part of the ordinance too, in the special events, that limits the amount of hours that you can shut down a street. I think it's set at 6. So I don't know if that's an issue as well.
Good point.
That's important.
We're way over that.
I
We're
would
pushing
think,
11. Yeah.
I would think that, I would hope that for set up and take down, there could be some sort of limited, very low speed in and out of people's homes. So they don't have to actually like get out by like 6:50 in the morning. I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but I would think by takedown, cars are coming in and out to load their stuff, and you could open up
Yeah.
to the residents at that point.
Yeah. Have somebody monitoring the closure.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could
Yeah.
have volunteers helping in the in and out stuff.
Yeah.
We did have, we had like, I think we had about 25 volunteers last time, and Officer Cesar he came out and trained all of our volunteers and gave us all the supplies we needed with safety vests and stop signs, and it was really helpful. So we can request that same service from the PD for this event. And I like the idea of, you know, being a little bit more flexible with the residents, because not everybody likes to wake up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday.
Mhm. Well, even they'd have to, the night before would have to probably move their car out if they wanted to go anywhere, do anything on Saturday. So that's tough when you got tough on old people and young people and anybody. So, okay. Do you have enough information to go on now, Abby and Megan?
I think so. We'll work with Matt Fleming's office to see make sure that the expanded premise would be okay if fenced. And we'll get pricing on the fencing to even see if it's something that we would be able to afford for the budget. We'll work with Sean Stowski to modify the traffic control plan, and we'll limit it to 6 hours during the event and still let residents in and out during the setup and takedown times.
That would be excellent. That would be the 10 to 4. That would be excellent if we could do that. Yeah.
Okay, and start just west of Aurora, and we can even bring a listing of the properties that would be affected under the smaller.
Because they really need to know ahead of time what's going on for sure. Okay, well, if you have enough to go on, that is fine. And the next item on here is discussion of event permitting procedure and requirements for city-sponsored events. Technically, any city event is not required to get a special event permit, correct?
Correct.
And the Parks and Rec Department, they have in the past gone ahead and submitted a special event permit, just as a heads up FYI.
Well, I mean, it's probably not bad for us to use the special event permit process as a template, because I imagine it really kind of depends on how the event is being planned. And I mean, at some point, I think certainly L&O committee input on, just the type of discussion we've just had is appropriate. I think when we wrote this, that exemption was written in just under the idea that, well, the city doesn't need the city to we're going to look at traffic stuff. We're going to look at all this stuff, but it wasn't really, I mean, you still have to have some sort of process to make, or want some sort of internal process to make sure that everyone who should have input onto these things has input. And so, I mean, I suppose when you think of it that way, and okay, how is that going to be done? I suppose that in many cases, particularly with new events, it probably does make sense, if not, strictly speaking, to at least, as a matter of practice, follow the special event permitting process, just so you are checking off the boxes and no one later comes back and says, oh, well, you didn't ask me, or you didn't look at this. So I don't know if we need to do anything else or discuss anything else on that. But at least in terms of the ordinance and how it can work, I mean, that's how I see the interaction between the ordinance and city sponsored events. But maybe something more formal is appropriate.
And for
Danny, Katie,
clarification,
oh, go ahead.
for clarification, right? Because I know Jeremy and I've had this conversation as well. There are certain things, a special event permit's one piece, but there are certain things we're not exempted from. We still have to have approval for amplified sound and those pieces, correct? So that's part of why we complete some of those pieces, which end up being the overall special event permit, even though it's really like small chunks that we have to do, because we still have to go through that process and have a permit to do amplified sound. We may just not have to pay for it because you've exempted us from some of that. But we do have to do some of those other pieces, correct?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, it's quite possible that for like amplified sound, it might not have ever really occurred to us that the city was going to need that. And I don't recall if there's specific exemptions or not. So, I mean, that's something we may want to think about if there is sort of some confusion or concern among city staff. Well, what process should we follow? Maybe it would be best to simply put in these ordinances, they're not exempt from the permit or the process, but just, obviously the fees. It doesn't make sense to hand, switch money around internally, but it's certainly something we could think about doing. But, certainly nothing right now stops us from just following that process. So I certainly think any changes we might want to make it to our ordinance would just be a matter of tidying things up and making sure we're not having the same discussion 5 years from now when different employees start asking the question.
Yeah. Dan and Katie, do you have anything to add? The procedure?
No, I agree totally with Matt. I see no reason why we can't just use the same procedure. Like you said, that way we make sure we get all the boxes checked, and it's another way to communicate to the public by going through here what's going on. So if we want to at some point look in the ordinance and to update that, to put it in like what Matt was saying, so that this doesn't come up again as a question in 5 years, we can do that. But I think we have a good process.
I agree.
Yeah, we're not here to discourage any city events or anything, so we want to make it, we don't want to make it too laborious, but this I think is a good idea. It really does let every department know what's going on when they're, when you fill out that application. So thank you. I think that's all we have under the miscellaneous then. Do you have everything you need, Abby? Megan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay. Now we will switch back up to, let's see, hearings and appeals. Appeal of a denial of a solicitor's license for Sean Weiss or Vicey, I'm not sure, employee of PBS Wisconsin, 975 Observatory Drive, Madison.
All right, so this one's a little bit odd, and I had to consult with Matt. He suggests I put this on here. So, and I don't know if Sean is here. I don't see anybody by that name, but so initially they applied for a direct seller's permit, which requires a background check by the police department. We did that, found a criminal history, a recent one involving a felony false imprisonment charge and a misdemeanor battery, which he is on probation for starting just earlier, well, at the beginning of January of this year. The solicitor's application does not require that background, but then we had them fill out the appropriate one, but we had this information. So I consulted with Matt. He suggested that we deny that one. He has been notified by Lori via mail. That's all we had for him, that it was denied and that he had the right to show up tonight to contest that. But I don't know if he's here. So
Sean, are you on the call, or anyone who would like to speak on behalf of this appeal? Hearing none.
I move we deny the appeal.
Do I have a second on that?
Just a second.
Okay.
Sure, I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the denial of the appeal, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is unanimous and that carries. Okay. Now here we go. Let's see. The licenses and permits. Application for a combination Class B beer and Class B liquor quota license for Lope Tanqueray Incorporated, doing business as Lope Tanqueray, 6919 Frank Lloyd Wright Avenue, Clara Luz Lorenzo Juarez, Madison, Wisconsin, agent.
So the only thing here is it was a sale, so they already had the license. There's no change there. It's not a new quota license. They are present if you have any questions for them, but no issues on the background check, so I would recommend approval.
I'll move approval.
I will second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Granted. Okay, number 4, application for a combination Class B beer and Class B liquor quota license by 1801 Deming LLC, doing business as Hilton Garden Inn, Madison West, Middleton, 1801 Deming Way, Chad C. Scott, Appleton, Wisconsin, agent.
And these next 3 are actually all together in the same situation here. It's just new ownership. So new president, new agent for all 3 of
You
them.
want to do them together, or how do you want to, or should we just, they're each different establishments, right? Different.
Correct. They're different hotels under the same ownership.
I see. Okay, well, we'll do them separate then.
Okay. And it'll be the same for all of them, I guess. There's no issues with the background check. I see Jennifer is here. She represents the company there too, if you have any questions for them.
Okay.
I'd move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Number 5, application for combination Class B beer and Class B liquor quota license for 2226 Deming LLC, doing business as Courtyard by Marriott, Madison West, Middleton, 2226 Deming Way, Chad C. Scott, Appleton, Wisconsin, agent.
And again, no
I'll
issues.
move approval.
I will second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, application granted. Number 6, application for Class A beer and okay, these are different Class A stuff, right? Okay, Class A beer and Class A liquor license by 8400 Market LLC, doing business as residents in Madison, Wisconsin, Middleton, 8400 Market Street, Chad C. Scott, Appleton, Wisconsin, agent.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, application granted. Number 7, application for a combination Class B beer and Class B liquor quota license by Sport Bowl LLC, doing business as Middleton Sport Bowl, 6815 University Avenue, Richard Thomas, Middleton, Wisconsin, agent.
And this is the exact same situation. It's just a change of ownership. And he is also present here if you have any questions for him, but no issues with the background on this either.
Jeremy, total ownership change for Middleton Sport Bowl?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will do item 8 and 9 together. Application for special event permit by Friends of Pheasant Branch Conservancy. Peter Watucky, contact person for the 2022 Prairie Chase Run Walk on June 25th, 2022 at Orchard Heights Park. An application for an outdoor amplified sound permit by Peter Watucky for Friends of Pheasant Branch Conservancy, 633 Orchard Street, Middleton, Wisconsin, for announcements and bands, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., June 25th, 2022, for the 2022 Prairie Chase Run Walk.
I will move that we approve the sound permit to start at 6:30 a.m. behind Dan Ramsey's house. No kidding.
I cannot second that.
So I will, I will move approval on, as printed on the agenda.
As printed, okay.
As printed, thank you very much, because then I don't have to make my little spiel. Please don't start before 9 o'clock. I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion carries for the event from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., June 25th, 2022. Okay. Number 10 and 11, we will do together also. Application for a special event permit by Triforce Schools, Katie Brassell, contact person for the 2022 Middleton Kids Triathlon on August 20th, 2022 at Bauman Aquatic Center and Fireman's Park. An application for an outdoor amplified sound permit by Katie Brassell for Triforce Schools, 200 East Verona Avenue, number 126, Verona, Wisconsin, for announcements and sound systems, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m., August 20th, 2022, for 2022 Marathon Middleton Kids Triathlon.
Boy, that's a mouthful. I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Questions I have for Katie. Tell me between 7 and 9, what kind of sound the neighborhoods will be hearing. I know this has been an event in the past, but.
Yeah, between that time, it's pretty sporadic, just more announcements, logistical registration areas now open, that kind of thing. The kids don't start getting to Fireman's Park to cross the finish line until, let's see, that first course is 8:30, so till like 8:45 probably. So that area would be more where we'd be playing some music and announcing their names as they cross the finish line, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So we actually don't usually end up saying all that much. Definitely in Fireman's Park, there's nothing really being announced until about 8 a.m. And it'd be those logistical kind of things to start.
Please be considerate of the neighborhood, of course. And let's see what else I wanted to. And it's not that they at the pool area, they'll be used to that because of the swim teams and stuff. So the announcements are pretty, I think, pretty accepted, but we just want to make sure that it's not waking everybody up. And this will have to go to the council too, won't it? Because it's outside of the hours that are actually permitted.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion on this?
I think we already did.
I think we did.
Oh, that's right. I'm in the discussion. You're right. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, guys.
Number 12, application for a special event permit by Beat the Blues Incorporated, Chris Bethke, contact person for the 2022 Beat the Blues Cruise on April 9th, 2022 at Kiva Sports Center.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, this has been, we've had this events have gone on before and it's no issues, correct, Jeremy?
That is correct.
It's a fundraiser, right? What is it a run? I couldn't tell from.
Yes. Yeah, it's a run and it's a fundraiser for mental health.
Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Good. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We did have motions on that too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, miscellaneous is done. We're on to adjournment.
Wow, so moved.
Second.
You
So my
moved right
agenda
through
still
that.
has ordinances, so do we need to say that we are deferring that, or did it?
It's not, I printed out the agenda from the website this morning, just this afternoon. And we don't even have an ordinance section.
Oh, I printed it out this afternoon too, and it printed it on.
Right.
Did you print
Well,
it from what I had sent you or from the city website?
I used the
From
link.
what was sent by Jeremy.
Yeah, so then that was updated yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so that was all we had. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
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 All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Night.
Thank you.
Bye.